The Chevrolet Traverse has been given a complete redesign update for the 2024 model year, and today we are down outside of Atlanta, Georgia to see what it's like. One of the big pieces of news is the introduction of the Z71 trim, the first time the more off-road focused Z71 trim has ever been applied to the Chevy Traverse. Under the hood, we have a new 2.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder that makes 328 horsepower and 326 pound-feet of torque, and that same engine is applied across all the trims, from the LS to the LT, the Z71, and the RS. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. As base, it's front-wheel drive, but you have all-wheel drive available, and the Z71 gets a special dual-clutch all-wheel drive system for even more capability. Between today and tomorrow, we're going to try out the Z71 on-road, some light off-roading, and we'll get even more drive time tomorrow to give you an initial impressions review of the new 2024 Chevy Traverse. Let's take a quick exterior tour of this Traverse Z71. So you'll immediately notice a much more SUV-like, more aggressive, rugged styling. Look at the front fascia. I see a lot of family resemblance to the trucks, the Silverado 1500, the SUVs. Much better than the previous generation, which is a little more soft and generic looking, almost minivan-like. This definitely takes the crossover recipe and goes much more towards the SUV side of the spectrum. We have these split DRLs up there, the headlights below, and I like this body-colored cut-in on the side. As a Z71, we've got the red tow hooks here and a unique front lower fascia here that is functional. There's a skid plate hiding down there. And check out these tires and wheels. 18-inch wheels with all-terrain tires that are shared with the Silverado 1500 Z71, which gives this a bit more aggressive stance. It's slightly wider from that regard, and also you get just over an inch more of ground clearance for the Z71 here. We got the blacked out lettering, and I'm a big fan of this fin that cuts in here on the C-pillar that's like body colored. It gives the side of the vehicle a little more interesting look. We have all LED lighting up front and out back. To the Traverse all-wheel drive black badging, and every single Traverse, regardless of trim level, gets the quad exhaust tips. They're chrome on this one. They're square exhaust tips for all the different trim levels. Mentioned all the new lighting. It just looks much more aggressive and rugged than the previous generation. I'm a fan. Definitely much more SUV-like. So with that, let's hop inside and see what it's like. All right, so we've hopped in a Z71 trim Traverse, doing a first little drive, getting some initial impressions. This is the on-road drive route. We're currently in front-wheel drive modes, two-wheel drive. I can make it go into all-wheel drive by just pressing this button on the left. And now just like that, we are in all-wheel drive. One of the initial impressions you'll get as soon as you hop in is the screens, right? We have a lot of screen real estate here. We have a 11-inch driver cluster, which is reconfigurable, and it's this little button on the steering wheel. You can press that to go between having the tachometer showing. It was kind of in a minimalistic view a second ago. And then if you have maps running, Google Maps, it takes over the center cluster too, which is really nice. So it's right in front of you, also mirrored there in the middle. I can go through and change that. Right now, going back to kind of minimalistic thing. This is the Google system, but we still have CarPlay and Android Auto. So unlike the Blazer EV, which did not have CarPlay, this, even though it has the same big, nice screens, still has CarPlay. But they want you to try out the built-in Google system, which that integration is pretty good. I've started to change my stance a little bit, because I've always been like, I want CarPlay. I love having CarPlay, right? Or Android Auto. Like, it just works so well. But then I spent some time with the Rivian R1S, which does not have CarPlay at all, and starting to use built-in systems, I was getting more accustomed to it. So you just log into Spotify, it's good to go, use built-in navigation, and on some of the EVs, it does make sense. But I am happy, at the end of the day, I am still happy that this Traverse with the nice big screens still has Apple CarPlay. So the 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, they actually revised the horsepower output. I was watching the backgrounder video I did when I first got the previews, just stationary in a studio, of the new 2024 Traverse. And at that point it was like 315 horsepower or something, but it's been updated to now 328 horsepower and 326 pound-feet of torque. And it's the same powertrain combination across the lineup, paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Base is front-wheel drive, but like this one is equipped, you can get all-wheel drive. I'm actually going to go back in the front-wheel drive. That'll help the fuel efficiency probably a little bit. So it's got more power, more torque, and better fuel efficiency than the outgoing model. So pretty much completely improved in all of those important ways. And the max towing package still matches. So 5,000 pounds with the max towing package equipped on like an RS or the Z71, if I have my facts completely correct. Digital rear view mirror, beautiful panoramic full roof back there, and it's a nice day in Georgia outside of Atlanta. It's sunny, it's very green. Going for a drive. I'm gonna turn the fan speed down a little bit. How's the road noise? We are in a Z71, which has the all-terrain, kind of more off-road tires. They're shared with the Silverado 1500, the base Z71 tire there. So I think there might be an off-road loop. If there is, you'll see that shortly after when I get back and I hop on a different one and try the off-road loop. But on-road noise isn't bad. It's pretty comfortable, rides well. It feels much more square and commanding, so it matches the styling changes on the outside. So when you're inside, you get the similar impression while driving it. It feels much more SUV and truck-like. The hood is very flat going out across. They said they lower the dashboard slightly to improve visibility, and visibility is pretty fantastic, actually. It really doesn't really remind me of the old Traverse at all. The old Traverse was very crossover, almost minivan-like. Like, I did not like the old Traverse. It was just regular traffic to me. I'd see one, okay, there's a vehicle. This one, and honestly, to me, looks like a slightly smaller, more compact version of like the Suburban. It echoes some of the Suburban Tahoe cues to it. You see a lot more of the truck-like elements. Now, the driving dynamics are still much more crossover-like, right? With the Traverse, it's just this one engine, this one power output level. Unlike with the Colorado where there was like the high output version, this is just it, right? It's this one engine, this power, and I'm not sure how I feel about it quite yet, because in the past, in my experience, when sometimes the automakers downsize so aggressively, right? They take a bigger SUV or crossover or truck and they put a small, heavily turbocharged 4-cylinder in. On paper, it may say it gets better fuel economy and whatever, but in the real-world usages, that little tiny engine is screaming its head off just trying to get up the speed when you're merging on the freeway, whereas a bigger, larger displacement, maybe a V8 or a turbocharged V6 or something, is just trying half as hard, and it makes it feel like a more, relaxed experience that. So I get a little bit of that with this 2.5 Turbo 4. If I really just floor it again. It does have solid passing power, I'll give it that, appropriate to the segment and this kind of vehicle. This is quite comfortable, actually. I'm going to try out Super Cruise because this one has Super Cruise equipped. I need to turn on adaptive cruise control. Super Cruise unavailable. Oh, well, boo. Okay, Super Cruise is not available on this road. That's a bummer. But Super Cruise is available as an option on the new 2024 Chevrolet Traverse because you see the big sensor, it's watching me, and I am a big fan of Super Cruise. I'll be doing a more in-depth interior tour, showing you some of the materials and things like that. But initial impressions, again, it just feels extremely spacious. I think it helps that it's a nice, beautiful, sunny day because it feels very open, light, and airy. Got the panoramic roof open there. I can have Super Cruise. Woo! It turned the little steering wheel thing turned on. It's green, hands-free, and we go. Oh, I missed a turn. I was supposed to turn there. Slight detour. So that's the thing with Super Cruise. It is fenced into the roads that have been mapped. Usually, it was for a while divided freeways, but we're just on like a one-lane in either direction road right now. And it looks like Super Cruise continued to expand the supported roads. I think the first time I tried it was when I drove the GMC Hummer EV truck. And it took me, I was like hovering for the first 15 minutes. I'm like, do I trust it? Do I trust it? And after 15 minutes, half an hour, I was like, okay, it's doing pretty good. It was doing lane changes. It was handling curves and everything. So on supported freeways, it does help quite a lot. It just can reduce driver fatigue. You still have to pay attention, right? You always want to be paying attention. You cannot be using a cellular device. You cannot be reading a book or whatever. You have to pay attention. And it watches you. If I look away too long, it'll get angry and yell at me and then eventually like disable and be like, no, bad Eddie, you must still be driving. pretty comfortable so far. Those tires are probably a big help. Cruising along in the grass. I'm allowed to do this. I'm not breaking any rules right now. Although I feel like I'm just driving through somebody's backyard. The tires are going to be a big part of it. So what else did they add for the Z71 to make it more off-road focused? I mentioned that twin clutch, dual clutch, all-wheel drive system for a bit more capability. The tire suspension lift, slightly wider track. It's got skid plate and it's got terrain mode, right? There are different more drive modes. Terrain mode, which is kind of like a almost like a hill descent control, just more of all of those features that you expect in some of these modern vehicles. How many people are really off-roading these things? You're not taking this like truly hardcore off-roading, right? It's not like a Colorado ZR2, but it's for people who maybe they need to get to their campground, a campsite, or they want to go, they're going skiing, right? Weather's a little more inclement, and they want to know they have a little more of that rugged capability. I think it's pretty smooth and comfortable, actually. It's got different tuned dampers too, apparently. We're not on smooth anything. It's just grass that just looks like it got mowed. I'm carrying a good amount of speed, actually. Whee! What is this? A little bit of mud. Get the truck muddy. Truck, crossover, SUV. Still don't love this four-cylinder. Definitely, it makes the torque, but torque and power is more than just that. It just doesn't feel super charismatic. Get the rear end to move a little bit. Whee! This was the higher speed stuff. I'm actually pretty impressed of how composed and comfortable. Like, you probably wouldn't be flying through the campground doing those kind of speeds on the grass. All right, this will get a little bit tighter, more technical. I wonder if I pull up cameras. We got standard. Go along this ridge. What are you? Oh, Google Maps is still connected, thinking I should be going other places. A little bit of mud. It does speak to me that they've tried to change the character of this Traverse. Because from the styling, right, it looks much more SUV, rugged, aggressive, and now we have a Z71 trim. Like the previous Gen 1, honestly, every time I think about it, it just kind of screamed like the typical crossover, right? Just a little front-wheel drive, go to take your kids to soccer practice, and I was never that interested in it. This one, just from the looks alone, I was like, okay, cool, and now we're doing a little bit of light off-roading now. I got some dirt gravel here, climbing along through the trees. One of the goals I always make for myself when I go any level of off-roading is I want to bring the vehicle back dirtier than it left. That means I had fun, right? That means the mission was accomplished. I just had a ZR2 Bison and got that thing very dirty. I spent like $20 of quarters and like 40 minutes power washing it off. But this does feel like the use case of a Z71. People aren't taking, you're not taking this in Moab, you're not taking it hardcore rock crawling. It's to get around in sorts of all-terrain situations, inclement weather, hard to access places, maybe you have a cabin up north you need to get to. You just want to not worry about it. And then obviously you have the people who just want to get it because they want it, right? How many people with Silverado Z71s or ZR2s even are really using them? People like that. And it's cool for Chevy to offer that character to it, right? There'll be a very big contrast with the RS, which comes on 22-inch wheels, right? That's like the more sporty on-road one. And then you have the entry-level, more mass-market, wider appeal ones with the entry trims of LS, LT. Oh, wow. Okay, so now we're seeing the different camera angles. So we have the 360 overhead view on the left, and now this is like a focused overhead of the back or front. We also have side cameras. I can see where my front wheels are for placing them. So that's pretty good. A lot of different camera angles. So to be fully honest, I feel like all of the trims of the Traverse would be able to do what we're doing right now. This is not like hardcore by any means whatsoever, especially all the ones with all-wheel drive. It's more so how they're tailoring the personality of the vehicle, what you want it to feel like, look like. And is it easier when you have slightly more all-terrain tires, right? A little bit more ground clearance? Yeah, it makes it easier. Oh, this is actually kind of tight. I need to concentrate. Eddie cannot talk. Yep, all right, we are good. Use the mirrors, we're good. But what I was saying is like, yeah, like an all-wheel drive LT could probably do this, right? LT Traverse trim. But with the Z71, they're just wanting to demonstrate that, look, we also want to give this to those people who want a little bit more of that rugged personality. And it definitely helps the looks. I mean, the 18-inch wheels with the all-terrain tires look completely different personality-wise from the 22-inch RS ones. The trim and things like that. It just changes what you want your Traverse to be like. All right, day 2, we are now in a RS trim. So what are the differences between the RS and the Z71 we were in yesterday? Well, the Z71 skews towards the off-road side. The RS is the sportier, more luxurious, top-tier trim. What are the differences? On the outside, you notice 22-inch wheels. Yeah, we have 22s on a Traverse, blacked out. It fits the more sporty characteristics. You see the blacked out trim too, and the different lower fascia. So the Z71 has been adjusted for better approach departure angles and things like that because you want to take it slightly off-roading. The RS does not need that. It does look good in RS form with the blacked out trim, the little subtle red touches. And yeah, somehow 22s fit on a Chevy Traverse, which I remember when I first saw it, and they're like, yeah, this one comes on 22-inch wheels as standard. I was like, wait, what? On the inside, we have a flat bottom steering wheel, the little RS badge here. We have red accents, similar red trim across the door and center. And then the seats have some cool red accents. They're leather on this one. It was cloth on the Z71, but you can option it up. Everything else from the screens and the seating and everything is going to be essentially the same. We have the digital rearview mirror, that big 17.7-inch infotainment screen. Everything is getting larger and larger, right? The wheels are massive 22-inch wheels. When I heard 17.7-inch screen, I was like, that's the size of like a laptop. Holy cow. 11-inch cluster here. We are currently in sport mode, all-wheel drive. Going for a nice scenic drive. Recenter my navigation. The RS also gets retuned suspension to make it a little more on the sporty side, and you get some other extra, so it's got power second row seats. In terms of seating, you can option these as 8-seaters or 7-seaters. This one is a 7-seater, so 2 in the middle row, 3 out back. If you want 8 seats, it's 2 up front, obviously, 3 in the middle, and 3 in the third row. We will clamber our way back there to see what the passenger space is like for somebody who's 6'2", 6'3". We'll see if the third row is actually usable for a full-size adult. In terms of driving, it's been good. On the road, obviously with 22-inch wheels, I was wondering what the ride quality was going to be like. A little bit firmer than the Z71 for sure, but nothing uncomfortable. We're currently in sport mode, which firms up the steering slightly. It remaps the shift point slightly. Got some curves to throw it through. The amount of body roll you would expect. I'm in all-wheel drive right now, but these are front-biased platforms. And it, just like the Z71, where it's like a light off-roading lean towards the vehicle, it does have the credentials, right? Same thing with this RS. A little more sporty on-road. Again, these are not performance crossovers in that regard. But my overall impressions are, they've changed the character of the Traverse. The previous gen, honestly, was very minivan-like to me. It was just family hauler, normal crossover. And immediately when you see the styling of this, it's just much more SUV, much more rugged, much more aggressive. Look at them side by side, right? If you told me this is a totally different model, not even called the Traverse, I would believe you, because they've changed the personality from the looks. Inside, huge upgrade, obviously a new platform, so all the screens. I think the materials are pretty nice at this price point, and the trim levels indicate that. Now, we're driving the top tier RS and Z71, that's what they want to demonstrate, but as before, likely the LS and LT will be the volume ones, just simply because of the price point, and what most people want is just a 7 or 8-seater spacious crossover, and they'll be still getting a lot of content. You have the big screen, you get the same engine, you get the quad exhaust tips out back, you get the same styling, the LED lighting. The RS does get some other added special touches. You have the approach welcome lighting, like the sequential turn signals and things like that, and it will be the nicest one. It will come with the cost. This is the most expensive one at around $55,000-ish, getting close to $60,000 depending on your options. All-wheel drive looks to be about a $2,000 price difference. The Z71 is right around $47,000. That one you have to get all-wheel drive. But the cheapest, from what I was looking at on the configurator, the cheapest LS front-wheel drive starts around the $37,000 price range. So that'll be the range in prices for the new Chevy Traverse. How do I think the value is? Well, compared to things like Kia Telluride, other vehicles in the segment, it has some segment best, the big screen, it's got the best cargo capacity, it's 98 cubic feet with the second and third row folded down. I think it looks really good, like it's got a lot of road presence. Again, very SUV and truck-like, which I prefer. All right, let's take a tour of the inside of the new Chevy Traverse with this RS trim. So you'll see the large 11-inch digital cluster here, and then the 17.7-inch infotainment screen. We've got Google Maps pulled up right now. We can go back home. You see all the built-in features. And look, we still have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. We can pull up the cameras here. We have the overhead view, the front camera. You can change everything, the side ones, back up. We also have trailering because this thing can tow, built-in maps, Spotify, and so forth. We have the digital rear view mirror up there, and you can also reconfigure the center screen so you can go full screen maps here. You can run it on actually both of them if you want, and then go to all the different views. You see we have this display here for Super Cruise. That's a little sensor that's watching you. On the left side of the steering wheel, we have our drive mode controls here. We have the all-wheel drive select if you want all-wheel drive or not, auto stop start, and the headlight controls are now in the screen. So we have a little shortcut here for changing your headlights. Just leave them in auto. It works perfectly fine, obviously. We have heated steering wheel, various buttons on the steering wheel. This side is for cruise control and turning on and off Super Cruise. And as an RS trim here, we have a flat bottom steering wheel, the red RS badge, the red stitching. We also have this red trim, this plastic trim here, the interesting pattern that fades to dark over there. It also expands across the center dash. You see it on the passenger door there. The Z71 also had that red trim, but on the seats for the RS, we have the RS embossed there, red stitching, this added piping, and a cool little like perforation texture there too on the seats themselves. Spacious center console, we can open that up. Little storage bin. Pretty spacious. And then a little storage bin here. We have physical climate toggles down here, but it's also redundant on the screen where they stay. You see we currently have our cooled seats running, we have heated seats. So it's nice to have both them fixed on the screen, but also some physical buttons there. And also, this will be easier to see if I step out. Because the shifter has been relocated, we have an extra storage bin underneath that center console area because the shifter has been moved over here. And to use the shifter, you have to pull forward and then down for drive, forward, up for reverse, button on the end for park. So you see the little arrows right there. That's indicating how to use it. So make sure we're in park. I can already tell I will not have legroom. I have plenty of headroom. So headroom is very plentiful. If I bring this seat back here, oh, actually, it's all right. This is not a Suburban, but I fit back here. Kids would fit back perfectly fine. There's also a button back here. Move that seat forward. See, that one is folded down for cargo space. All right, crawl my way out. And earlier you heard me, I guess, complaining a little bit about the engine. Now I'm driving a bit more. It's fine, right? It's the word I would describe is adequate. It makes solid torque, and properly equipped, it will tow 5,000 pounds. And I have to remind myself that in this segment, the consumers, they just want to see the top line number, they want to see their fuel economy numbers, and then they care about other things, right? They care about how's the infotainment, what are the standard safety features, which this has a lot of safety features. This one is equipped with Super Cruise, which we were trying out earlier, and it's got pedestrian warning and all the different safety features. It's a massive list that I cannot possibly memorize. But then I reminded myself that, hey, does my mom know what engine's in her Ford Explorer? No. So if she got a Chevy Traverse, I could ask her, how many cylinders does your car have? She would have no idea, right? So from an enthusiast standpoint, yes, I'm gonna be like, I don't love the 4-cylinder that much, but to the buyer, it's not the biggest deal. And the most important takeaway is it makes more power, more torque, and gets better fuel economy than the outgoing engines. So first review, initial impressions of the refreshed Chevy Traverse. As you've heard me say multiple times, I am a fan of the styling. I think it looks much better than the previous generation. I think the interior is a good step up, especially in these top tier trims. Nice infotainment system. It still has CarPlay and Android Auto, so no need to worry. We still have Apple CarPlay despite using the built-in Google system, which we've been using right now, and it's fine, right? Google Maps, nice integration there. The top trims have nice luxury features. We've got heated, cooled seats, heated steering wheel. We've got Super Cruise. It's got nice materials. Sound system is pretty good too. Spacious, and it drives pretty well too. And we had some fun doing some light off-roading with the Z71. And if you want 22-inch wheels, get yourself an RS. But I imagine the mass market volume model trim will be the LS front-wheel drive, but you still get plenty of content there. So I hope you guys enjoyed my first experience in the new 2024 Chevrolet Traverse. Thanks for watching.